Hello and welcome everyone to my podcast. I'm so excited to be here with my guest Andrew Woodward today. And I think we met on Speakers Alchemy. I think we met in a network, yeah. And
Network.
I'm always fascinated by people that do work in the space of investment and helping people actually to achieve wealth, achieve some kind of base, that they can feel safe in their life and they can do some extra with just understanding probably mindset and structures and systems and processes through that building up the wealth and understanding probably how much people really need to, live that beautiful, healthy, safe life so they don't need to stress stress about money all the time. I'm sure a lot of people stress about money, so I'm sure you meet some people as well like that. But yeah, look, I'm not going to probably tell people everything about you. We started to work together. It's really nice to have some meetings and chats with you. I really appreciate your knowledge in a space and also how you want to help more and more people.
Yeah.
But I would like to know first something about you. So how did you end up doing what you're doing right now? Because I'm sure that you didn't start it or didn't become straight away a wealth coach or wealth strategist. So tell us
No,
something
for
about
sure.
you, about your background, Andrew.
Yeah. Well, look, I could give you a long story, but that would take up the entire podcast, and then we would have nothing that we've given in terms of value. But the short story is that money and wealth and how to get our money growing for us is something that's always been important to me. And that doesn't necessarily mean I was overly good at it when I first started, but eventually I had some success. And the short story of why I now do what I do is that, like most things in life, something completely different led me down this path. And my mother-in-law passed away from cancer when I was in my 40s.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry.
And yeah, and so I made a promise to my wife at the time that I would find a way to raise money for cancer research in her honor. Now, I absolutely adored my mother-in-law, so none of those mother-in-law jokes apply to me.
Wow, that's actually
And
very different. Amazing.
yes, and
Mhm.
so I made that promise, and it took me a couple of years. I'm an active and competitive cyclist, and I found a cycling charity that raises money for cancer research, and they do long bike rides around the country. So I joined that charity, and ultimately became quite proficient at raising money. Raised just shy of $500,000 in 5 different tours that I did.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as a result of that, I became, good friends with the chairman of the charity, who became a mentor. And at the time, I was the CEO of a business at Sydney University, and I mentioned to him in one of our catch-ups that I wasn't loving what I was doing anymore. And so
Mm.
he challenged me to teach people what I'd done for my own wealth, because he and I had had conversations over time about what I'd done, but also the fact that we're not taught how to manage or grow our money at school.
Yeah, that's the important one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so because he knew how passionate I was about that, he just, like a good mentor, he kind of hits you between the eyeballs with the reality and said, you need to teach people what you've done for yourself. And so for almost 10 years now, that's what I've been doing, is teaching people how to first manage their money to take the stress out of it. And then second, how to grow it so that they can have a secure financial future.
Yeah. And when you said manage money, I think that's actually something I learned. When you mismanage something, it doesn't really grow. Like it doesn't really, it just dies basically. So people don't really manage. I think that's what I see. People don't really manage their, money accounts and looking at where you can move money and doing something with it. They just get salary or they just get paid.
Yep.
Nothing happens after, right?
That's
So
right. Yeah.
it's
And it's actually why I flippantly will tell people that I'm anti-budget, because if budgets were the solutions, everybody would be wealthy. And I always make the analogy to diets. If diets on their own worked, there would be no health issues. The problem is that with both of them, whether it's a diet or a budget, you need more than just a piece of paper or a file on your computer that says, this is what I'm going to do. You need an environment that goes and supports it. And so I teach a system that automates your money management environment so that you don't just get paid and then that's it. There are
Yeah.
mechanisms in place to ensure that, one, you get to live the lifestyle you want to have today, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you're putting some money aside for when you're not going to get paid because you're no longer working, and you want to be able to live off something. And yeah, some assets is a great way to go about that. So we want to start building those assets as soon as possible.
Yeah. I love your journey that you actually started to raise money. That's absolutely beautiful journey how to actually even think about money, right? So that's is that the start of your profession, like when you decided, or is that something that you managed before? Because I believe probably even before you started to take care of your wealth, or how that goes. Like I know that you started to raise the money,
Yeah.
and but you already built up some wealth, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I had created my own wealth by that point.
Okay, that's
And
what I was getting.
that's,
It's like
yeah,
it has to come from somewhere.
yeah. And that's why the mentor basically said, you should teach people to do what you've done for yourself because it's
Yeah.
not taught at school. But my long story of my version started when I was 14.
Okay, so that's what I was curious about because I was
Yeah.
like, there was somewhere I'm missing the start.
Yes. So when I was 14, I played squash against men in men's competition. And I played in a team for one season that had three people who were all in the financial markets.
Okay,
And they spent 6 months telling me and getting in my ear that you need to get your money to work for you, not you work for your money.
I love that.
And that stuck with me. And then obviously in my 20s, I started earning money, spending more than I was earning, and eventually had the moment where I realized something had to change. And so I then put into action a plan to change how I was managing my own money and then learn how to grow it. So that by the time I was 38, I had created my first $1 million net worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I love how natural, and this is what I want probably to kind of remind everyone as well. So you started to being aware, about money working for you very early at a very early age. Usually it takes a lot of time to build up something, right? So actually it's kind of long-term achievement to create wealth. And a lot of people want to achieve, first million in 1 year, and they think that everything will be just a miracle. And
Mm.
go to the business and the business will straight away create money, and it will be just this crazy money machine. When someone comes with a real story, with actually showing people this is reality, like if you are not from a very rich family, you need to start to be smart about money, and you need to start to build it up slowly, and it takes time. So a lot
Yeah.
that is very very authentic and real, because yeah,
One of my favorite demonstrations of what you've just said is the example of doubling $1 20 times. So the first, and I'm not suggesting that anybody can double $1 20 times in the way I'm going about this example, but the point is that the first time you double it, it's worth $1. The second time you double $1, it's $2. And then you double again, it's $4, and then $8. And the effort that you might take to do that is pretty equal.
yeah,
The 20th time that you double that money, it's worth over $500,000. So if you double $1 20 times, it goes to over $1 million. Now, as I said, that's not the point of the analogy. The point is that most people want the last double,
yeah,
the first one, but you have to do the first 19 to get the last one, and that's why people often say to me, "Well, how much money do I need to get started?" And it's literally the answer flippantly can be, "Well, how much do you have?"
mm,
And because it doesn't have to be a large sum of money to get started, you just have to get started.
yeah. And I actually, that was something I learned, and that was also when I started to learn about investment and started to understand. I thought I have to have a lot of money, save a lot of money, and now I have to put it somewhere and it will grow. But what I learned, it was basically, even when you have like $500, a month, just start with something,
Yeah.
put it aside or put it somewhere,
Mm.
and you can start to become, or you can become investor. And I was like, wow, that was for me like the new world. And I was like
Yeah.
so excited, because like, yeah, I can actually become investor very very fast or very early.
Yeah.
So what is the major thing that keeps you doing what you do, and what is your why?
Look, my why is twofold. One is obviously my own family. So I've got two adult kids and a wife, and I'm all about generational wealth. So I want to create wealth for the next generation so that they can then pass it on to the one after them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the personal side of it. The broader why is that in this country, less than 5% of people will retire with enough money or assets to support their desired lifestyle.
Mm.
And so I want to change that statistic. So the more people I can work with, the more people we can change their future outcome, the less that they will have money stress, the less dependent they will be on somebody else for money, and the happier the world will be.
Yeah. I love it. That's
Mm.
great. Yeah, let's help more people. So everybody who's listening, you can start very early. So yeah, I will be interested probably tap into what do you think is the most common problem or gap that people have? What are the things maybe people believe or misconceptions about, getting or creating wealth? What is stopping people? What is missing?
Yeah, look, there's a few answers or a few questions in that question you've asked. I'll start at the top level and work my way down. The two biggest challenges that people face are time and knowledge. So it's either a lack of time to learn or a lack of time to do what's required to be an investor, or they're running out of time. So they're getting too old, which is never really an issue because you can always start and do something.
So it
And
is misconception mostly,
yeah,
like it's actually
that's
doesn't
right.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also a misconception about the amount of time it takes and the amount of time you need and all those types of things. And then with knowledge, it's a whole host of things. Where do I start? What do I invest in? How do I know I'm doing the right thing? What if I make a mistake? All those types of things fall under that knowledge banner, and they become overwhelming, and so people do nothing.
Yeah.
And so my whole program and business is designed to solve those two challenges. So teach people how it can be done in an hour a month and show them the processes, the tools, the decision-making models that reduce their risk
Mm.
and improve their results.
Perfect. So you basically need 1 hour and a few bucks, and you can actually start to change or start. You can actually take yourself on the beautiful journey of changing your future and changing how you will live when you will be, I don't know, in 5, 10 years time, right? What you will be doing. You
Yeah,
can travel, you can enjoy the life, and you don't need to actually count every dollar because you created a little bit of safety net. So that's amazing.
yeah.
So time and knowledge. Is there any other thing that can stop people to actually start creating wealth?
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, it's inside here.
Yes. So
So
for everyone who's just listening and doesn't, I can't see Andrew. He's he's shoving our brain, our head. So yes,
yeah,
he's in our head.
yeah, it's in our head, and that's what I often will say or quote, and I have no science to back this up, but I believe that wealth creation is 95% what's going on between your ears, and the 5% is the strategy.
Yeah,
Because I could give you the best possible strategy, known to mankind, but if you haven't got the right things going on between your mind, you'll find a way to mess it up.
yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely. Mm.
yeah, and so yeah, the thing that gets in people's way and stops them is their own thoughts, and that like you would totally appreciate and understand, that all comes from our upbringing,
Yeah.
who we've learnt from, who we've taken guidance from,
Mm.
and what our experience with money has been. And
Yeah.
that then often leads to, some pretty poor outcomes if we've had poor results as a youngster, or if we've grown up in a house where there was poor money results.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is if you've grown up in a house where money was, just flowed nice and easily, sometimes that can be bad for you as well, because you then just believe it will work for you as well without doing the work yourself. So
Mm.
um, yeah, there's lots of things that can get in the way, but ultimately our
Yeah.
mindset is the number one.
Yeah, and I love what you said, because I believe in any success, any results. Every result is reflection of our psychology, right? So our inner state, our emotions, and emotions are actually caused by thinking. So
Mm,
our mindset, and I love that, because also I see a lot of people that I'm meeting, some of my clients as well, or past clients, have really bad relationship with money, and success itself as well, like the wealth, because they saw the picture of wealthy people. They were not right. They were cheating, and especially when you go to back to Slovakia, or when you're going back to some countries in Europe, right? So all the wealth was created was almost like everybody was doing the wrong thing. It was not actually the right thing. So I think also that can change, how you feel about, like, me being, rich or wealthy. Like, you feel like you don't want to become that person. So I think subconsciously, when we're resisting something in
mm,
that space of how success looks like, or how being wealthy looks like, I think subconsciously or unconsciously, that we don't even know about that, we can really repel this. Like, we can
yeah.
actually create this different energy with money, and they're actually going away from us. It's
Mm,
almost like they're running away. It's like, no, we are not for you here, because you don't want to be successful. You don't want to be actually that person. So
yeah.
I think that's really interesting thing that you're saying as well. Like, you give people strategy, but also you need to give them a little bit of mindset shift. So it's really important to have a relationship, or healthy relationship with money, because if that is not there, you can try, but yeah, it's just not
Yeah.
easy,
And
right?
look, I'm sure your audience has heard this before, but what you resist persists. And so, if, like you said, if we've been, or we have a belief that the wealthy people have achieved their wealth from, whether it's corruption or cheating or getting lucky or whatever it might be, then we don't want to be that. So we will
Yeah.
resist it.
Yeah.
And as a result, we will never have the money that we really need and want. And
Yeah.
ultimately, one of the big things that I want people to take away from any discussion about money is that it's not actually about the money. The money is not what people really want.
Yeah.
It's just the vehicle that helps them get them there. And it's so, I always talk about choices and experiences. What people really want is the choice to do what they want to do when they want to do it, and they want to have the experiences that they desire, whether it's traveling, whether it's attending sporting events, whatever it might be. Um, but it takes money to do those things. So if you take the focus away from the money and on why you're going for the various things that you want, you can shift the focus and
Mm.
and get much better results.
Yeah, and I love what you said, because yeah, when someone asked me, I think it was last week, someone asked me what success means to me, and I was like, I have two words. It's the choice
Mm,
of doing what you want to do, and it's the experience of life. Like, you want to have good experience of life. You want to be
mm,
doing the things you love, and you want to be able to spend time with people that you want to spend time with. But
mm,
when we actually not have enough, or we feel like we live in, lack, it's really hard, because we
mm.
are on the chase, and people are chasing, really chasing just money. But I found it, like you said, vehicle, right? It's actually not what we should chase,
Yeah.
because it's not what we actually need, because that will be just the vehicle. It will be, it's almost like a side effect of your mindset shift and your activity around money, right? So when you put a strategy and mindset in place, it's almost that already is saying that you will have result. I feel like it's that when where the focus goes, energy goes. I think that was Tony
Yeah,
Robbins,
that's right.
right? So it's
Yeah.
very interesting, and I still, some people don't do it, and a lot of people, or most majority of the people, don't do
Well,
it.
that leads you kind of to the next biggest challenge that I find people have when it comes to growing their money, is that the most important step is action.
Yeah.
And people
Okay.
people trip over action all the time. Like,
Mhm.
I often,
I will do it tomorrow.
yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. I don't have to worry about retirement. It's 30 years away, and before you know it, it's next week. And
Wow.
action, action for me is the hardest part of what I teach, because for so many
Yeah.
people, you can give them all the strategy, you can give them all the mindset training, you can give them all the tools, but what you can't do for them is do it for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is the bit. And people trip over themselves
Mm.
because they're just not able to pull the trigger and look after
Yeah.
themselves in that respect. So it's action is a really difficult part of the process.
Yeah. It's interesting because you mentioned that you need basically 1 hour a month, right? So having the time, I believe everybody have that time. And the moment you said that you don't have 1 hour in month for your wealth creation, for your freedom and future creation, I would say that you just sold yourself. Like you just basically still sabotage your freedom and give away your freedom. And I think that's what people probably don't talk often enough, and we don't probably bring it enough in our lifestyle. And
Yeah.
there is an opportunity and option to have good life, and because we didn't have the education, like you said, there was no education in schools. It doesn't mean that it's not important. It
Mm.
means that it's more important than ever and ever been. So I love that, and I would probably ask you about a few examples if you have some numbers or some stories or some cool things that, because I believe you help a lot of people, so it will be nice to get a little bit of inspired by some
Yeah, sure.
stories.
So I'll tell you my favorite story, and then put that into some context. So 90% of my clients are 40 to 55 years old. And the main reason for that, obviously, is because when they've got to that point in life, they're starting to think about what retirement looks like.
Yeah.
And so, as you can imagine, that puts a lot of pressure on them because they've just decreased the amount of time they have to get the results that they really want. So my favorite client story is a story of a girl who was 16 years old, and she went to her parents with a list of 5 things she wanted to achieve by the time she was 23 years old.
Wow.
Okay. And one of them was one of them was to have an investment property. One of them was to travel back to Greece, which was her family heritage. And the first two, I forget the third one, but the first two was to pay for her school graduation dress and to pay for her schoolie's holiday.
Wow. That's
So she had some very defined goals that she wanted, and all of them required money, and she was 16 years old.
yeah.
She just started a job in a cafe, working after school once a week
Wow.
and 1 or 2 shifts on the weekend. And so I knew her parents. Her parents came to me and said, "We are going to fund her to do your program. But one of the things she has committed to doing is that she will repay us her investment in the program." And being from Greek heritage, she had a birthday approaching, and she was given an amount of cash through that birthday.
Yeah.
So she joined my program. She was completely raw in terms of even how to open bank accounts and all that type of stuff. So we taught her basic money management, and then once we had that under control, we went into how to invest. She's now 18. She's now left school. She bought her school graduation dress using her own money. She paid for her schoolies trip using her own money. She's repaid her parents the cost of the program. And she now has a 5-figure stock portfolio, and she's 18 years old.
Wow. That's amazing.
And
That's beautiful.
she has the skill and the experience already of how to manage her money. So one of the things that she did right from the beginning was, even though she didn't have any bills when she was 16 years old, she still put money aside for them, because she
Mm.
knew at the time her parents were paying for her mobile phone, but that was about to change. And then she knew that she'd start to have
Wow.
additional expenses. So we put some money aside for those expenses that didn't even exist, just so she got used to it, so that she wasn't spending all of her pay, and she was still putting some money aside. And with that, over time, we're able to grow a stock portfolio, and she's saving cash as well. And now that she's earning more money, it's just growing more quickly.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love the story. And I don't think something can be better than that, just to hear from someone who is 16 years old and start or comes with these kind of questions and say, I want to do this, I want to create something.
Yeah.
That is really impressive. And I love to hear that, about young people like that. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
and it's very unusual, obviously, that a
Yeah.
16-year-old is that dedicated. But the thing that I like about that story was the gift that her parents gave her,
Yeah.
the gift of financial literacy at the age of 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something that she will convert, that investment she will convert for the rest of her life.
That's for life. Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
skill that we should all have,
yeah,
but sadly we don't because we didn't learn
yeah,
in school. So that's amazing. That's a really great, impressive story. So
yeah. Let me give you one that's probably more relevant to your audience, where I'm working with somebody in that 40 to 55 age bracket, and they've never really had a plan of how they're going to achieve their retirement. And the joy that I get going through my program with these people is at the end, when we do the map that shows them, if they just keep doing these things each month, they will get to their desired outcome in retirement, a combination of their own assets plus their super assets. And the look on their faces when they realize that it's as simple as just putting monthly effort in, that 1 hour a month for whatever period of time it is, it will get them to a point where they will have enough assets and cash in retirement to live the lifestyle that they want to live. And that's coming back to why I do what I do. The look on their faces when they can discover this, makes it all worthwhile.
yeah, I totally believe that because it has to be so good to just get, it's like you're getting hope, but you're also getting something real and tangible almost because you can see that your life can change.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. So if you can go back before you started business,
yeah.
what you would tell yourself? What do you wish that you knew that time?
Oh, look, that one is a really simple one. If I could teach myself what I now know and what I've done eventually, what I did when I got success, it would be to what I call pay yourself first.
Mm,
And so that is every time you get a salary or a payment, of some form, put some of it towards your future self, because we can't and don't want to work forever.
yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, and so at that point when we're no longer earning an income, you want to have done, before you get to that point, enough so that you have more money coming in than you know what to do with. So paying myself first from the very first time I ever received any money would be the best advice I could give anybody.
That's amazing. I think I will play this episode to my nephew and niece. I can't wait for it. Especially your beautiful story about 16 years old. I think my nephew is coming to 16, so it will be amazing. I
Yeah.
definitely want them to start to get into this, and yeah, that will be amazing. Thank you so much, and I would love you to share something about your event and how people can connect with you, how they can work with you, something more about that.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I have a tool that I call the Wealth Tracker, and it's designed to tap into that part of our brain that's going to help us be successful with money. It tracks our results, and it's a really powerful tool. So if you go to ptsmethod.com/home-wealth-tracker, you can get that for free. And as you mentioned, I hold live events.
Yeah,
And so if you want to go to one of my live events, you can go to ptsmethod.com/masterclass and get yourself a seat at one of those events. They move around the country, and we've got one coming up in Sydney. But if you've missed that one, there will be more. And I highly encourage you to come and learn how to invest like the wealthy so that you can get the results that we were just been talking about.
that's amazing, Andrew. Thank you so much. And for everyone who is listening, I will share all the links that Andrew mentioned in description of the podcast, so you can actually check and connect with Andrew. I will probably share your LinkedIn profile as well, so people can find you and can have a chat. Thank you so much for that. I'm really looking forward to learn more about the work you do, and I'm so looking forward to collaborating with you because that will be a big journey together.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. Good luck with your events. And
Thank you.
yeah, can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex.